Thank you for your son. Thank you for providing such a wonderful plan of your feast days that we were able to enjoy and learn from as we took time to sit at your feet. Be with us as we go through this study and as we learn from Moses, through song, through poetry. You're touching on every aspect of our heart, Father. May we learn from it and be better for it. In the name of Yeshua, Amen. Okay, how many of you have seen Singing in the Rain? Okay, well, this isn't really about that movie, but it's about Deuteronomy 32. But I want to, before we do that, the question had been asked, where are we at financially with City on the Hill? And I figured I'd do basically a State of the Union, kind of where we're at, where the funds go, what the fund levels are. Amy was gracious enough to do the extra work. That's probably what gave her the eye problems right there. To figure out where our fund values are at. And I just want to share with you, being candid with you, this is what the leadership oversees. So the current fund totals as of my birthday, 9/9/24, the general fund was at $1,227. How is that used? For rent, we spend almost $5,000 a year to be able to rent this place. General supplies is $1,446 so far this year, and that's going to be coffee and things like that. Insurance, we actually pay insurance, if you weren't aware of that, $763, and a lot of places pay a lot more than we do. And then we have a website, we have licensing for that, the website's not developed yet, not fully. We promote videos on occasion, and the licensing is for us to be able to display the song lyrics up here. That's probably the biggest expense right there. That's how that money is used. The feast fund, the value right now, or the fund level, is $2,700. That's pretty good for this time of year. That's very good. Very pleased with that. It's oftentimes depleted by now. Passover, not bad. A little less than $800. Shavuot, that's our biggest expense. Almost $4,000, $3,700. A lot of that, a big part of that is fireworks. Yom Teruah is under $400, so that's where we spend those funds. The blessings fund right now is at $917. How is that money used? We were able to this year. We had 4 families that we were able to bless from that fund to the value of $2,145, and that's, you guys don't know who that is, but the leadership does. The women's retreat, we try to keep the cost down, so around $669 is applied to that as a subsidy, and the men's adventure, a little less than $300, same thing. So those are some things we do. We would like to maybe in the future have something for the youth or the children too, something to think about. The Pregnancy Helpline Bottle Fund, I don't have the value in front of us, but that's funds that didn't go through City on the Hill. That's funds that people donated, and we just took to Pregnancy Helpline. So that's, if City on the Hill wants to start supporting a ministry, that's something that we could do in the future, and I'm open to ideas. Something you want to talk about, would be willing to talk about that. The GMD2 fund, Go Make Disciples 2 fund, that value is at last time we checked, $68,580, and that's that chart way back there on the wall when you go in and out of the house. I'm going to give you a little history on that. So, year and a half ago, we invested $50,000 in a CD, and that earned $21.66 in funds. Then we took that money and we rolled it into another CD at 5% interest rate, and that's going to earn $34.59. And then we added, we added another $10,000 this fall because of the giving that had come in, and so that's going to earn about that in 13 months, and that's the equivalent of about somebody putting in $157 in the GMD2 fund. The bank is putting $157 in the GMD2 fund every meeting. That is really cool. So that's the leadership team is doing a really good job of being good stewards of the funds. I want you to know that. This is where we were thinking, this is before inflation, Biden inflation, but we were thinking we could build a place for $550 and buy some land. We're right in here, about $68,000. Now it might seem a little insurmountable, but we feel that at $100,000 we can buy some land. And at that point, that we're getting pretty close to that. We could hit that mark in a couple of years, possibly. At that point, we can purchase the land and we can start making plans for the future. We could start camping out there if we wanted to. We could have the men's adventure out there, whatever we wanted to do. Maybe the men's adventure will be at a hotel and you girls can go out in the rough and in the wintertime. But anyway, so the big chart is a little intimidating, but if you break it down to smaller goals, which is something I think we should do, then we can see that we're making a lot of progress. And that's just exciting. So that's kind of the state of the union of where we stand with that. And as far as paid personnel, we have 0. So just as a reminder, nobody gets paid. I will double your pay. So, Torah portion, Ha'azinu, chapter 32. In order to understand that, we really need to read just a couple of verses in the previous chapter. Just a couple of verses in the previous chapter. Verses 16 and 17, it says, And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people. This people will what? Will follow all your instructions. Well done, good and faithful Moses. After 40 years, they finally got it. Go and rest in peace. Applause, applause. He can rest in peace, right? Isn't that what was written in there? No, it's not what's written in there. It actually reads, And this people will rise up and go a-whoring after the Elohim of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. And you can just imagine how much he does not want to hear that. That would be so frustrating after his life's work, right? And it reads on, Then my anger will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them and hide my face from them, and it will be consumed, and many evils and troubles will come upon them, so that they will say in that day, Is it not because our Elohim is not among us that these evils have come upon us? But I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil which they will do, for they will turn to other Elohim. So Moses is thinking, I'm thinking this is what Moses is thinking. I've tried, and I've tried. I gave it my all. Joshua is in charge now. You're leaving me here to die. These are your people. He tried that one once. These are not my people. They're your people. Your problem. It's Joshua's people or your people. It's not my people. But then he says, but what can I do about it? Seriously, what can I do about it? And that's where the scripture adds a now therefore. Now therefore. Anytime there's a therefore in scripture, we want to know what it's there for. And it's a change. Now therefore, write this song. So this is really interesting because this means that this song is a type of antidote. This song is a very powerful tool to help Israel not end up as Yahweh said they will. Write this song for yourselves and teach it to the sons of Israel. Put it on their lips so that this song may be a witness for me against the sons of Israel. And I like that. There's a writing in here. How many of you have read this book, Too Long in the Sun? It's a great book. Is it in the library? Is it in the library, Tim? We should have it in the library. Richard Reeves. It was one of the first books that we read. And I know Mike and I talked about it because it says right at the beginning. Can you read that? Warning. Warning. This book is not written as a form of entertainment. Do not read past this page unless you are willing to take responsibility for the information contained therein. That is kind of what this song is. The song is going to be a witness because they're going to hear what Moses has to say. And it's going to be used as a witness. Like Israel, you heard what Moses said, right? When once we read the Word, we are a witness to the Word too. And we're held responsible for what we know. But just to recap on this, David and Olson and I discussed it a little bit on email. And that is that there's 2 Torah portions left, I believe is correct. Is that right? 2 Torah portions, 2 or 3? Just 2 more. Okay. Our calendars were different this past year with Israel. But I kept us on the same Torah cycle of reading, because there's no commandment in the scripture saying that you have to read this one on this day or this one on that day. So I thought for solidarity reasons and to not add more confusion, it wouldn't change up the Torah reading cycle. So normally after Sukkot, you start in with Genesis 1, Bereshit. We'll do that in a few weeks. We'll do that at the next meeting we have here together. But for the sake of where is Israel at today and all the others, and where are we studying today, this is where we're at. We're at the very end of the Torah portion, getting very close. In order to understand the song that Moses wrote, we're going to need to understand that he also wrote a psalm. He wrote a psalm, Psalm 90, and it'll help us understand this song. The thing I like about Psalms is that the Torah is the Torah, the prophets are the prophets, but the Psalm is about, and Torah tells us how things are, and they're prophetic in various things, but the Psalm tells us how we feel about it. This describes our feelings, describes David's feelings, describes Moses' feelings, because our emotions play a large part of how we believe. So Moses, who gave us the law, the commandments, the Torah, was also asked to write a psalm, was also asked to write a song. And that's what we're studying today, is the Song of Moses, chapter 32, Deuteronomy. The Song of Moses is referred to, and most of you will remember, in Revelation 15. Revelation 15, 2 through 4. And I saw something like a sea of glass mingled with fire. And those who have the victory over the beast, over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, having harps of Elohim, they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb. And I just want to stop right there, because so many of us in our Christianology world, we knew this. We had it memorized practically, right? But we totally glossed over the Song of Moses. The Song of Moses. We just focused on the Song of the Lamb. But I love it because they're both mentioned here. The Song of the Lamb might be from Revelation 12:17, where it talks about, it's kind of redundant and it's reinforcing the same thing. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach. Now I can tell you right now, who can you think of right now that is enraged? When you read this verse and people that are enraged with believers, who do you think of? Democrats. Possibly, yes. But the far left, because honestly they hate us. They hate us. They hate what we stand for. Who else? Hamas. Does anyone remember what Hamas means? Violence. Yes. And we see that happening right now in Israel. And they're just trying to destroy Israel, and it's coming back on them because the Father is protecting them. We need to continue to pray for Israel, for their protection. We need to pray for this country too, so that we can send them money so they can continue to protect themselves, or we can send whatever aid we need to protect them ourselves. But that could be the Song of the Lamb, testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach. 2 things required in Revelation. But Revelation 15 goes on, and it said, this is the song. So it talks about, they're singing this song, and the song is this. Great and marvelous are your works, Yahweh, Elohim Almighty. Just and true are your ways, O King of the saints. Who will not fear you, Yahweh, and bring glory to your name. For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. Now we're reading in Deuteronomy 32 today. This is the Song of Moses. or Deuteronomy 32, for I proclaim the name of Yahweh, ascribe greatness to our Elohim. He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are justice, just and true, an Elohim of truth, and without injustice, righteousness, and upright is he. So that's the Song of Moses. Is this the Song of the Lamb? Because we don't have a Song of the Lamb that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't believe it's mentioned. Who will not fear you, Yahweh, and bring glory to your name? For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. And honestly, is this not what Yeshua came for? He came to do the righteous acts, to reveal. He was Yahweh incarnate. He was Yahweh revealed to mankind. As David had mentioned, the backside, the after effect of Yahweh himself. So I wonder if that's not the Song of the Lamb. It's just kind of fun. Some things that Davidology does to you, or to me anyway. So that brings us then to the last song. The last song, I think the only song that Moses wrote that was written down anyway. I don't know what he's saying out there with the sheep. David sang a lot of stuff out there with the sheep, but it didn't get added to the Torah that I'm aware of. So let's read it.
Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, as raindrops on the tender herb, and as showers on the grass. For I proclaim the name of Yahweh, ascribe greatness to our Elohim. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. An Elohim of truth and without injustice. Righteous and upright is he. They have corrupted themselves. They are not his children, because of their blemish, a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus deal with Yahweh, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your father who bought you? Has he not made you and established you?
All right, and we'll stop there. And I'm not going to go through the whole song because I'll give you the cliff notes on it. It talks about Israel at the beginning. Then it talks about vengeance on everybody who is against Israel. Okay, that's pretty much how it finishes out. And I focused before on the blemish because of their blemish, and that's a fun study, because those who are beautiful are considered to be blemish free, and that is, we become blemish free when we put our faith in Yeshua, and that becomes an object of beauty. The last study that I shared with you was about special treasure, right? It was about Segula, that we are his special treasure. We are his beautiful one. But today I'd like to focus a little bit on my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, as raindrops on the tender herb and showers on the grass, for I proclaim the name of Yahweh. So I did some studying about, I'm not a farmer, but I did some studying about rain, and you can find this to be true in washing dishes. So if you're washing dishes and you go, I'm gonna dry some dishes now, and get out a perfectly dry washcloth and a dish towel, and you go to dry the dishes, does it work very well? It does? Maybe depending on the fabric. I find it doesn't work very well until you get it somewhat wet. Once it's somewhat wet, it'll start drying the moisture right off. And that's the way crops are too. If there's a little bit of moisture in the ground, it can receive the rain. Otherwise, it runs off. It has a hard surface and it runs off. So they say that's why a slow drizzle is much better than a quick rain. And so I've wondered, and I'm thinking, why is the Father trying to teach me in all of this? And I believe that our work here, the work that we share together at City and Hill, the work that we share together in our lives in different ministries, whether it's here or the things that we do outside this place as part of our ministry, we're helping to make the rain or the ground wet. We're helping to make, it's kind of like planting the seed. We're helping to get the ground just a little bit wet. We're giving a testimony. We're wearing a ZZ. We're giving a word. We have a head covering. We're keeping the Sabbath. And it's just putting a bug in people's ears, if you will. And it's helping to get the ground a little bit wet so that when the rain continues to come, it'll soak in and it'll help them to build deeper roots. Help ourselves to build deeper roots as well. Hosea 6:3. Let us acknowledge Yahweh. Let us press on to acknowledge him. And surely, as the sun rises, he will appear. He will come to us like the winter rains, like the spring rains that water the earth. Where we live, we don't necessarily get the spring and the fall rains like they do in Israel or other places on the planet. But this is written to someone who lived in Israel. So they would get special rains at special times to help with the different crops. This is why in Israel you can have a sukkah that sees the stars, because it's not going to rain on you because it's not the time for rain. Unlike how it is here in Michigan, right, Mike? It's going to rain at some point, so it seems. But still, the way that this is translated, and I had to look for the translation that I liked in this one, and it said, he will come to us like the winter rains. And I want to suggest that the rain is a picture of Yahweh. A rain is a picture of his word, a picture of his Torah in our lives, and the things he wants to do with us and for us. Rain can actually scrub the air. I know when we lived in town, when it rained, I hated it because it stank. As soon as it rained, for the next 10, 15 minutes, it's not going to smell good because it brings down all the contaminants that's in town, and then it's on the ground or whatever, but you can smell it. Compared to living in the country, it's a good smell from the beginning, unless the neighbors just fertilize their field or something. But the rain cleanses the air. It's a well-known fact. And it's funny because rain, as we talk about mikvah, water cleanses everything. It's a picture of Yeshua. It's a picture of our Father in heaven. Let's read on.
Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you. Your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nation, when he separated the sons of Adam, and he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the place of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in a wasteland, a howling wilderness. He encircled him. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye.
And just pause right there. I had mentioned the apple of his eye now at the last meeting, and breaking that out a little bit, same verse. He kept him as the apple of his eye. That is Strong's 380. Ishan, our pupil of the eye. And Webster has it as the center of the eye, so called from the tiny images one sees of oneself reflected in the eye of another. And the Eshon is a little man of the eye, in which, as in a glass, a little image of a man is seen. And that's an image of the apple of the eye. When he calls us the apple of his eye, he's saying, I see my reflection in you. I see my reflection in your eye. It's a beautiful image, a beautiful picture. You guys can see the little man here, right? And I find this funny because I'm a cameraman, right? So that means somebody was standing over here, and the cameraman is standing here, looking this way. Because otherwise there'd be a picture of a guy with a camera. So that's why it's at an angle. Fun stuff. All right, but let's move on. This is a Song of Moses. As an eagle stirs up its nest, hovers over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, carrying them on its wings. Well, does that happen? Here's a picture. I can't find an eagle, but this is a swan carrying its, what are those called? Swanettes? I don't know. Swanee River. And this is a better picture. What does that make you think of? Yes, So it's more than just giving a lift. It's also providing protection, right? Protection. So let's back up to the verse. As an eagle stirs up its nest. So I did some studying about this. What does an eagle stirring up its nest mean? And I guess it's true that some birds will, they pluck feathers out and put it in the bottom of the nest for the eggs and for the chicks, right? As the chicks get older and it's time for them to get out of the nest, they take the down out. The parents do. And let it get a little bit irritable. Like, this isn't so much fun to stay here anymore. So they say that's what the stirring up the nest means. Hovering over its young, we just saw that. Spreading out its wings, taking them up, we just saw that. Carrying them on its wings. By the way, you're going to hear some people say that this is evidence that the scripture is not correct. Because they're going to say there's no evidence that eagles actually fly and carry their young on their wings. Although, somebody has been witness to this account, and they saw an eagle fly and fall. The mom flew down, or the dad flew down and caught it and brought it back up and said, try it again. And that went on for 30 minutes, they said, but there was no record of it. But I'm here to tell you that there will be. It may not be yet, but there will be, because there's cameras now everywhere. In nature, things that we don't see oftentimes. This is what Scripture refers to, because He created all these beings. He created all these creatures, and He built within them instincts on how to raise their young. Because like how do birds learn how to fly? Well, I don't know. Apparently, the parents encouraged them to do that. And they wouldn't do that before they could fly, right? Before it was appropriate. And they also demonstrate, this is how to fly. Trust me, it's going to be okay. My granddaughter, Ashlyn, she's so much fun. She loves dinosaurs, as all our grandchildren do. And that's a dinosaur book that she has right there. But there was a time, we have these dinosaur masks. Melanie has like 4 different ones, I think, in the basement. And we'd put these on. She'd say, put this on. Well, she wouldn't say that. She'd say, she's only 2. So you put it on, and she was okay with this. And then you go like this. And she'd go, ooh. she wasn't happy about that. And then I'd take it back up, say, it's me. And she'd go, okay. And then I put it back down, and she'd get scared. Well, 2 weeks go by, and then we see her again. And then next time we see her, and I put it down, and she's okay with it. She knows who I am. She's not afraid. But then I go, and she freaks out. I mean, she gets so scared. Her eyes get so scared. She's like, oh, and she starts running away. And then in time, she's putting the mask on, and she's doing that to me. So today she doesn't get scared. She doesn't get scared with the mask, because she knows with experience with Granddad, I mean her no harm. We're just having fun, and we're learning together. And I think that's how it can be with the Father. And like what we were talking about a moment ago, is learning to trust our Father, and that things that He's asking us to do might seem terribly scary, but we have to learn to trust Him, because He has our good in mind. We'll talk more on that later. So now we're going to get to Psalm 90, because I wanted to just touch on the first 11 verses of the Song of Moses. I encourage you to study the whole song. Like I said, the rest of it's about vengeance on the enemies of His people. But Psalm 90 was also something that Moses wrote. And we could get into details about when this was written and various things. And there's some interesting arguments about when this might have been written, because there was a blessing that Yahweh gave to Israel, and it doesn't record what the blessing was. And I think this might have been the blessing. Return, O Yahweh, how long? And have compassion on your servants. O satisfy us early with your mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days in which you have afflicted us. years in which we have seen evil. Let your work appear to your servants, and your glory to their children. And let the beauty of Yahweh, our Elohim, be upon us, and establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Makes me think of another Psalm, 19:1. For the director of music, a Psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of Elohim, because we just spoke about glory a moment ago. And your glory to the children. This is something that we just sang about. God of wonders, beyond our galaxy, you are holy. You are holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, holy. I have a lot of fun in the astrophotography world because so many people are studying so hard to learn what's out there and how it's out there and why it's out there. Because if you ask all the questions, it always comes back to the same thing, and that is, why am I here? Why am I here? Why are you here? What is the meaning of life? And they get caught up in all the mathematics and all the stuff about it, and they make up their own stories and various things, and they imagine, and they start to worship science and all this thing. But when it's all said and done, it comes down to, we don't know. We don't know what this is all about. We're still searching. And I'm telling you, you don't have to look any further, buddy. We have it right here. And I have a new Bible, by the way. Thank you, my dear beloved. Large print. I still need glasses. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Mine, I had showed it to Tim. I just wore out to the point I couldn't even read it until I got to about Genesis 14. We have the answers. We have the answers in here. We do. Anyway, Deuteronomy, when we break out this word glory, and this is important. For the director of music is on David, the heavens declare the glory of Elohim. That word is kavod. Strong 35:19. Its root is kavad. And that word it's a root word, and it means heavy, it means weighty. It's from the same term that we would speak of someone who is loaded. Someone who is weighty with riches. Someone who is loaded. I couldn't find one that had coins. I was trying to find one with coins, but I would rather have that anyway. So even our English word refers to glory is about being weighted down with glory. To be weighted down with what? Oh, we're going to talk more about that. What are we weighted down with? I find a parallel in Psalm 90 that Moses wrote to the psalm that David wrote. The director of music, a psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of Elohim. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. And this is the last two verses of Moses' psalm of Moses. Let your work appear to your servants and your glory to their children. Same as David. Maybe he was stealing David's work. It was written later. Maybe he wasn't. No, I'm just kidding. And let the beauty of Yahweh our Elohim be upon us, and establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. So we have work of hands, and we have glory. And this is what I think. And by the way, that picture of the sunset was mine, and I took this picture too. Love it. I love it. That's, in case you're wondering, that's Jupiter. That's the Milky Way. You had heard me say recently that the Father has spoken to me, and he's saying to me that I need to say more often, show me your glory. And so you're probably going to see it as my signature on my emails coming in the near future. Show me your glory. I think he wants us to ask him that. He wants David to ask him that. So I've been making that a habit. And I've been beginning to see it. When we experience Yahweh's glory, we experience what? Again, the richness, the weight of, we're loaded down with the weight of his beauty, which it mentions, the richness of his goodness, weighted down with it, the weight of his power. Even people study the stars say, wow, it took so much power to do this. They even say that energy can't be created, they say. Science says energy can only transform from one thing to another. It's always been. funny. Yahweh has always been. Richness of his mercy. Indeed, how rich is his mercy. It is like the rain that falls upon us. We can't contain it all. It will eventually have to pool up and flow into rivers. Weight of his compassion, and what we just read, Moses, he mentioned that. Richness of his truth and his word, which we're reading today, and the weight, and this may be a little different, the weight of his election and calling. Okay, so that's kind of where I want to go a little bit today. We've been raised in the nest. We've been fed the word. We've been protected. We've been carried on his back. Maybe in this season of this past year. Maybe in seasons of life. Maybe where you're at right now. But then the weight, because the glory talked about the work of his hands, but also talked about establishing the work of our hands. Now, when it says that he's going to establish the work of our hands, that means that we're doing his work. That's one of the interpretation is he's doing the work through us. There was a time where he did it all on his own. He even told Moses, stand back and watch. But he also, today, maybe more so today, he wants to work, do his wonders through us. So there's a weight of his election and a weight of his calling in our lives. A responsibility, because he's invested in us. We've told people at work, if you move into this department, we're going to invest in you, energy, effort. You're not going to be worth a hill of beans for 3 months. I tell guys it takes 3 years to be an efficient programmer. You're fully on your own at the 3-year mark to be an efficient programmer. So, but as a company, we say, you can't change departments until you've been there for a year. Because we're investing in you and we want to get some payback. Now, that'll transition depending on the positions, 6 months or so. Funny, because that's the same as the bird. At 6 months, it's time to fly. So the Father is investing in all of us in different ways. I thought about referring to this place as the tool house. Because I want you to be able to come here and get tools in his presence, get tools so that you can use those tools in life. Melanie and I'm trying to fix a sink. It's beyond me, really. But I told her, and it worked. It's the drain. I'm having trouble with the drain, okay? But the faucet I got installed correctly, and it's because I needed a special tool. I said, Melanie, I've always wanted this tool. It's a lavatory tool. It's the only way you can get up in there and turn that thing. And she got it for me, $11. And I was able to put a sink in for the first time tight. When you come here to stay on a hill, and when you go other places to be, well, I'll leave other places out of it for now. When you come here, I hope and pray that you can receive some tools. That you can receive tools through the teaching or through just the Father directly to you, because he's here. His Spirit is here. The weight of his Spirit is here. I've had people tell me that sometimes they can feel the weightiness when they're in his presence. I personally have experienced his aroma, the aroma of the Spirit. I have experienced. Sometimes he leaves some tumbleweeds so that we can acknowledge he was here. So some more State of the Union and then I'm going to close after this. Where are we at? So I keep track of attendance in case you're wondering. And from Sukkot to Sukkot, it looks like these folks here, there's 22 meetings, and these 5 have only missed one. David Schwartz, Casey Brown, Sarah Brown, Tim, and Mary Ellen, and Gladys. Oh, did I get that right? Gladys, yep. Amazing. Only missed one meeting. And then if you're looking, just look for your own name on here, and I had to move it over here too. I mean, I know people have, like even my own wife, she just left because she's probably mad at me. because she only has. Melanie only, she missed 6 or 7 meetings because she had a rough season. She almost didn't come today. And I understand that. And there's seasons, and then there's rodeo, and there's things that go on, and there's births and all kinds of things. But I just want to tell you that in case you're wondering, we need you. City in Hell needs every one of you. Not only do we need all of you, because there's work that the Father wants us to do. There's work to be done. And He wants you to be here. He wants you to bring gifts. He wants you to receive gifts. He wants you to be encouraged. And then He also wants us to reach out to others. So for brothers and sisters that haven't been here in a while, reach out to them. Let them know that they're missed. Because at our Sukkot, I was able to do a puzzle. This, I was sure I didn't have this piece. I was sure I did not have this piece. Because I buy puzzles at Goodwill for 99 cents. 1,000 pieces, and I'm sure. What's that? Oh well, sometimes I get them for 99 cents, and that's not a very remarkable piece. But like I said, I was sure it was missing, and it doesn't really make any sense. Can you guys make out what the whole puzzle is based on that? No, not at all. But it does belong right there, and that puzzle was not complete until I had that piece. And even this puzzle here shows you see all the individual pieces, don't you? But in the right light, you see one picture. And that's a picture of us. Each one of us is important. Each one of us is a piece to the puzzle of the greater picture. Now, this is the puzzle I got. I wish I had a landscape picture or something like that, because that would be a great picture of oh, what a beautiful landscape. But honestly, I'm horrible at landscape puzzles. Give me candy bars any day. And I can put them together. Because each of us is important. Each of us has a role to play. None of us are the whole picture. None of us are the whole puzzle. But we each have a piece of that puzzle that we need to do and complete. And it's like an orchestra. And Dr. Tim would appreciate. I should have got a marching band. Sorry, Tim. But in an orchestra, I can imagine, you each have a part that you have to play. And maybe there's times in which, like Ron does for David's Dance Like David, there's a solo moments where people play their part and the focus is on them and they have to do it right. We want them to do it right. In an orchestra, there's times when you have to play and there's times where you have to be quiet. And when you have to play, you want to play it well. But if you play your part well when it's not your turn, it wrecks the song. And if it's your turn and you don't play, it wrecks the song. Everybody has to do their part at the right time, which takes rehearsal. It takes, if this was the Holy Spirit right here, telling you at this moment, say this, at this moment, do that, go here. That's what I'm talking about. That's the orchestra. And when we do that, we are making a song of Moses. We are making a beautiful song, a beautiful psalm. This is why they're singing in heaven, people, together. So you might be asked, and we're almost done here. You might be asked by the Holy Spirit, did Moses do enough? He did enough. In my opinion, he did his part. He did more than enough. The Father said, write a psalm too. I'm not a psalmist. I don't play harps. Write a psalm. Write a song. I don't want to write a song. Do I even sing? I said I stumble with my lips. I can't talk well. Write a song. Okay, I'll do it. What if the Father asks you to do something that you're not comfortable with? I can assure you after today he will. Because of what I just read here. I read you the warning. You will now be responsible for what I just told you. You may be asked to do something that's uncomfortable. And I assure you, nobody could write what Moses wrote the way that Moses wrote it. nor could it have been respected in the way that it was respected. He was the right man for the right time doing the right thing. The Father has something for you to do as well. I don't know what it is. So, you might say, I've tried. I've given my all. What can I do about it? It's not working out the way I want. Things look bleak, whatever. And that's what I would say then. Just sing. Just sing. Do your part when it's your turn to do it, when he calls you to do it. Sing and worship. If nothing else, just worship. If you don't know what else to do, just worship. Because worship wins battles. It wins battles. The enemy has no answer for it. When we start to sing, all he can try to do is get you to stop. He has no answer for it. It will take down walls, mountains, and it levels the playing field. So if you're frustrated, if you see no fruit, just sing. He also danced. Gene Kelly was a good dancer.
There's a verse in the previous chapter. It says, the words of that song are never to leave the lips of the children of Israel.
Oh.
Like, we should keep reminding ourselves of that song. We should read it over and over again. Because like you said, it's a warning of what's going to happen to us if we fall away.
Right.
So it says right there, I told myself at the time I was studying that I would try to read it at least once a year. Haven't done it. It says to in the scripture.
Some of you might be challenged. The Spirit may speak to you to write a song that we sing here. I don't know. I have no idea what he's got going. But I know this, there's a lot more that he wants to do. A lot more that he wants to do. The grass and the ground is just getting wet. There's much more to come. And I'm excited about that.